Welcome back to Beyond Wisdom, where we explore timeless truths for a more peaceful and meaningful life. In a world where everything demands our immediate attention, breaking news, emails, opinions, alarms, it's easy to get caught in the habit of reacting. But buried deep in the quiet minds of ancient philosophers lies a different way: reflection. Not as a luxury, but as a necessity for clarity, peace, and wisdom. Today, we'll explore why most people react, and why philosophers reflect, and what that difference means for your life. Most people respond to the world the same way a fire alarm responds to smoke: loud, automatic, and without thinking. Someone says something offensive, and anger snaps like a whip. A situation doesn't go our way, and frustration rises before we've even taken a breath. These reactions feel natural, even justified, but they often come not from clarity, but from habit. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He wasn't suggesting we suppress emotion. He meant we should create a pause, a sacred space between stimulus and response. That space is where reflection lives. The average person fills that space with noise, judgment, defense, blame. But the philosopher holds it open, like a doorway to deeper understanding. They ask questions instead of making assumptions. They sit with the discomfort long enough to learn something from it. Think about how often we react without realizing the source of our emotion. Was it the comment itself, or the insecurity it touched? Was it the delay that made us angry, or our expectation that things should move faster? Reflection gives us the chance to examine the roots, not just the surface. And when we do, our responses shift from automatic to intentional. We often react when we feel out of control, when something threatens our sense of order or power. A rude driver cuts us off, and we honk or shout, as if that momentary blast of energy will restore justice. But it never does. It only adds tension to tension, fire to fire. Philosophers, on the other hand, are less concerned with control and more interested in comprehension. They want to see rather than win. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor philosopher, would pause during his daily routines to write down his thoughts, quietly sorting through his reactions with calm observation. He reminded himself constantly, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Where the reactive person focuses on fixing the external, the reflective person looks inward. They ask, "Why does this bother me? What story am I telling myself? What am I afraid of losing?" When we turn our attention from domination to discovery, we reclaim our peace. We become less like warriors fighting the world and more like sages listening to it. Reactions are fast. They live and die in the span of seconds. But reflection gives the moment a second life, not by repeating it, but by understanding it. In many Eastern traditions, reflection is not just encouraged, it's built into the structure of daily life. In Zen Buddhism, monks are taught to bow after dropping a cup or making a mistake, not as punishment, but as acknowledgement. This too is part of the path. The bow says, when something unpleasant happens, most people try to forget it or push it aside. But philosophers ask, what can this moment teach me? They aren't looking for grand epiphanies. They're just making room for truth. Confucius once said, by 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest. And third, by experience, which is the bitterest. Reflection, then, is a form of gentle learning. It doesn't wait for life to crash down to reveal its lessons. It listens as life whispers. When we reflect, we slow time. We carry moments forward with us, not as baggage, but as tools for wiser living. Reactions are often about separation. Me versus you. Right versus wrong. Threat versus safety. This division is useful in emergencies. Our nervous system is designed to detect danger. But in everyday life, this division becomes exhausting and harmful. It keeps us on edge, always scanning for something to resist. Reflection softens those boundaries. It asks, what's the bigger picture? Instead of seeing the rude comment as an attack, the reflective mind wonders, is this person hurting? What are they carrying that I can't see? The ancient African philosophy of Ubuntu teaches that I am because we are. It reminds us that we are not isolated events bouncing off each other. We are threads in the same fabric. Reaction tears the fabric. Reflection weaves it back together. When we reflect, we remember our shared humanity. We may still disagree, but we no longer do so with venom. We do so with curiosity, with humility, with care. Have you ever had a day where every little thing seemed to bother you? Where by nightfall, you felt completely drained, not because of what happened, but because of how many times you had to react. Reaction takes energy, a lot of it, especially when we carry emotional reactions long after the moment has passed. We replay conversations. We stew in resentment. We argue with people in our heads. That mental tension, multiplied daily, leaves us weary. Reflection, by contrast, is a form of rest. It doesn't mean overthinking or obsessing. It means sitting quietly with your thoughts and letting them settle, like sediment in water. Once they do, clarity returns. Seneca, the Stoic writer, used his evenings to review his day in silence, not to punish himself, but to understand his own mind. What did he do well? Where did he fall short? What could tomorrow bring? This kind of practice restores the soul. It gives us back our energy because it stops us from leaking it into every passing irritation. At its root, most reactivity is fear. Fear of being disrespected, unloved, ignored, or wrong. That fear disguises itself as anger, defensiveness, even humor. But the source is the same, the need to protect a fragile sense of self. Philosophers, both ancient and modern, have long said that wisdom begins with self-awareness. Not self-protection, self-awareness. The more you know yourself, the less you fear being misunderstood or challenged. You don't need to react to everything, because your peace doesn't depend on others' approval or the perfection of the moment. Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened." To know oneself is to be grounded enough to observe rather than absorb, to reflect rather than react. When we come from wisdom, we speak more gently. We listen more deeply. We move through life with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything, only to understand more. In a fast, reactive world, reflection is a rare and sacred act. It's what turns noise into music, chaos into meaning, and pain into wisdom. While most people live like reeds in the wind, bending to every breeze of emotion or opinion, the reflective mind becomes like a rooted tree, still, steady, and quietly strong. Choosing reflection over reaction isn't always easy, but it is always worthwhile. And with each small pause, each quiet moment of curiosity, we remember who we really are. Not machines of impulse, but vessels of insight. When was the last time you paused before reacting? And what did you learn in that moment? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear your reflections. Thanks for watching. If this video brought you value, subscribe to Beyond Wisdom. Until next time, stay calm, stay strong, and stay wise.